Hey, good afternoon, everybody. You know what? Before I get into my content today, I just want to shout out my engineering team. They are the best. My son, Nathan Powell, and my friend and creative strategist, Lastina Simpson, they are the best engineering team that I have. My daughter Adia also works with my creative team. So I just want to shout out my creative team today because not only do they keep me looking good, they keep me sounding good, they make sure that my audio and all of these things on my lives are on point. So I just wanted to shout them out today. All right. In any event, let's get started. I'm not going to keep you long, and I know I say that every time I go live, but my goal is to do lives that are no more than 10 to 15 minutes because in the true spirit of transparency, I don't always appreciate long lives. And but I do know that when there are things that are very important to hear, I take the time to listen to them. So I hope you'll take the time to listen to what I'm talking about today. Again, this whole series, this whole semester, or this whole quarter, I guess you will, has been about self care. And last time I went live, which was about 2 weeks ago, I talked about decluttering your life and your mind. And today I'm going to talk about letting it go. So I'm going to run through real quickly the points that I gave you last time about decluttering your life and your mind. One of the things that we realized is that overthinking was decluttering our life. And that when we have an issue or a situation that occurs in our life, we will beat the dead horse trying to find the answer without actually applying a strategy to actually come up with a real answer. And I'll get into that in my next part of my live. But let me tell you some tips on how to declutter your life and mind. I gave you these last time, but I think it's important as we move into the next part of what I'm going to be talking about today to make sure that you are connected with the strategies for decluttering. The first one is don't linger on a decision longer than a day. If you are lingering on a decision longer than a day, you're spending way too much time fighting with that um, fighting with that decision. The second thing is make a weekly assessment of clutter reduction. Now that can be things that clutter your space, things that clutter your mind, things that clutter your thoughts, all of those things, because clutter causes fatigue, it causes insomnia, irritability, panic attacks, anxiety attacks. And those are things that we need to figure out how to get rid of. Keep your workspace organized. I talked a lot about that last time because a cluttered space can produce a cluttered mind. Then spend time daily doing things that don't require you to do much thinking. I'm a nap kind of girl. I love the opportunity to just stop in the middle of the day, shut down, and take a nap because that's what refuels me. Okay. Then write out decisions that need to be made and put a deadline on them. For those that know, I'm a college professor, but I also do a lot of training and staff development. And in addition to that, I do coaching and counseling. One of the tools that I always use are SMART goals. SMART goals are specific. What is the specific thing that you need to happen? They're measurable. How do you know when you've accomplished them? Are they achievable? Is it something that you can actually do? Are they realistic or relevant? What's going to be the outcome when this thing is accomplished? And then are they time bound? You got to put a date on it because you won't know when you've gotten to where you need to be unless you put a date on it and reevaluate at that point. The last thing that I talked about is having a trusted person or accountability partner, someone that's not afraid to challenge you on what it is that you said you were going to do. Somebody that will pick up a phone and call you and say, hey, did you do, did you go, did you fill in the blank? Okay. So let's talk about what that it is that you need to let go. There are several different places where that it shows up. One of the places that it shows up is in our emotions. Sometimes we have to let go of the fear of unknown. Oh my God. Now, let me just be very transparent with you all. Everything that I talk to you about on these lives are things that I've had to walk through in my own life. I've had to walk through getting rid of clutter. I talked all about that last time about my boxes. For those that were here last time, you all remember me talking about the boxes. But then there are other things that we have to use, or other things that come to clutter up our life, that we have to take the time to declutter and to let go of. So what is that it? Is that it an emotional it? Is that it something that that fear that rises up when you can't find an answer to something? That it that rises up when you get a bad report, or that it that rises up when a relationship is not going the way you want it to go? That it in emotion sometimes invite fear. And we want to let go of fear. Last time I talked about that serenity prayer that says, God, grant me the wisdom to know the things that I can change, the things I can't, but the wisdom to know the difference. Those things that you can change, resolve to change it. Those things that you can't change, you may have to be willing to say, I got to let it go. But what you really want is the wisdom to know the difference. Okay? What about that mental it? That mindset that sabotages success. The self-sabotage of success. What about that? Have you counted yourself out before you even began? Oh, I know I'm not going to be successful with that. Oh, I've tried that before. And well, guess what? When I talked about SMART goals, I also talk about smarter goals. The E and the R on the end of that smarter goals mean to evaluate, to look at what you said you were going to do, go through all your processes to see whether you've gotten there. And then the R stands for readjust. So if you've gotten to a place where you've decided that you've done that before and it wasn't successful, then did you try to determine why it wasn't successful? Before you count yourself out, you might have to go back and figure out, well, that wasn't successful because this little piece didn't quite fit right. It's like the piece to a puzzle. If you try to put that one piece in a puzzle that don't fit in that particular place, you won't get the picture or the outcome that you're expecting. But if you go back and say, it may not fit there, but it may fit over there, then you may have success. Okay? So examine that mental it. Don't count yourself out before you have examined everything. And remember, you want to seek for the wisdom to know the difference between something you can change and something you can't change. What about that spiritual it? Now, I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, and I desire that everybody be a Christian. But I'm realistic enough to know that not everybody may be. But whatever your spiritual truth is, your spiritual foundation is, don't allow it to be broken. Don't allow it to break you down. But get into that spiritual place of quiet and meditation so that you will be able to enrich your spirit, practice in your faith, and getting the spiritual outcomes that you need. Remember, no man is an island, and you can't go on any journey alone and get to the destination with success. Okay. And then lastly, your physical it. Now, right in the midst of the pandemic in May of 2020, I went on a fitness journey because number one, I didn't like the way my body felt. I didn't really care about how it looked, because my clothes still fit. I still thought I looked good in it, but I didn't like the way I felt. So I embarked on a fitness journey. And there were limitations to that fitness journey because I had allowed my weight to get out of control. However, in the midst of a pandemic, most people talk about that pandemic 15 or whatever it is that they've gained. I'm proud to say that during the pandemic, I lost 40 pounds. I eliminated 40 pounds. And it was because I had to take stock of what I was doing. I had to take stock of what I was putting in my mouth. I was eating anything and everything that I could and expected not to have a negative outcome. And then, as my good sister friend would say, I had to get up and move my meat. I had to get up off the chair of sitting all day and working and snacking while I'm eating. I had to get up and move. And so now my physical exercise, my working out is one of the highlights of my day. And so, what is that it? Identify it. Face it. Are you stuck in your emotions right now? Are you stuck mentally right now? Are you stuck spiritually or physically right now? I was, right before I came on here, I was listening to my spiritual grandfather, Apostle Ivy Hilliard, and he was talking about 5 steps to overcome procrastination. And look, I got sense enough to know that when Apostle Ivy Hilliard start talking, I grab a pen, I grab a paper, and I take notes because he always give valuable nuggets. He gave 5 very valuable nuggets, but I'm only going to talk about one of them. He said that the 3rd step to overcoming procrastination is the pull of the pain of the predicament. We get ourselves in predicaments that cause us so much pain sometimes. And sometimes we try to cave in and quit. I have to honestly admit, I had some situations occur in the last several months that made me just stop and say, this is too hard. I don't want to do it. But then I had to stop, and I honestly had to snatch myself in the collar, just like I'm doing now, and say, girl, get yourself together, because that's not you. That's not how I operate. I don't cower to fear. I don't cower to the pain of my predicament. And I don't give in when something is hard. But I had to recognize why I was in that place. And I had to realize that there were some things that I needed to do to press through to the other side. And so I'm hoping that in the midst of you deciding to let it go, let me give you these 3 tips on how to let it go. And this is in my newsletter from July 17th that came out last Sunday. Take it moment by moment. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You see me raising my hand. I had to stop being afraid to ask for help, because it's the strong people that people always say, oh, they got this, they good, they all right. No, us strong people need help too. If you don't ask for any other help, find you an accountability partner, like I said earlier, that's going to bring attention to what it is that you need to do. And then place reminders, sticky notes, notes on your phone, or whatever it is. Place some notes to remind you of why you need to let it go. You need to let it go for your emotional health, your mental health, your spiritual health, and your physical health. Keep those things in mind. I appreciate you all for listening today. And if you can't figure out how to let it go, go to my website, rubyepowell.com, sign up for a discovery call. By all means, subscribe to my weekly newsletter. I promise you, we don't bombard you with emails all throughout the week. We give you the nuggets. We give you the newsletter once a week, and we allow you to live your best life. I will be back in 2 weeks with more tips on self-care and how to let it go. This is Dr. Ruby Says, signing off for now. Love and blessings to you.